In the book Sophistical Refutations, Aristotle presents the eighth fallacy, which is secundum quid. The other instance of secundum quid is the converse accident fallacy, which we discussed, which involves the opposite process. The converse accident fallacy uses facts which are exclusively applicable to exceptional cases to create generalizations that are applicable to all cases. The rules are only applicable to cases due to their exceptional circumstances and so are not appropriate for more general cases. While the accident fallacy takes rules applicable to general cases and applies them to a qualified exception, the converse accident fallacy takes rules applicable to a qualified exception and applies them to general cases. The ninth fallacy is irrelevant conclusion. The irrelevant conclusion fallacy describes an argument that, although its content may be factually inaccurate and logically valid, is not relevant to the issue which is being debated. This results in a distraction from these issues. Often this involves taking a related issue so that it appears relevant to the debate. A number of terms are used to describe this fallacy. In Latin, this term is ignoratio elenchi, which means ignoring refutation. It is also colloquially described as someone using a red herring or missing the point. Although this may distract from the substantive issues in a debate, it is not necessarily intentional and seems like a valid argument as it does not require logical invalidity or factual inaccuracy. The 10th fallacy is begging the question fallacy, which uses circular reasoning to make a point supported by an unsubstantiated assumption. An example of this is the statement, "This song is better because it has more variation." The premise is as accurate as the conclusion, but as the premise that more variation is better has not been demonstrated, it begs the question of why that is the case. The statement presented in the format A is true, therefore B is true, and is often difficult to identify. This is because logically the statement is valid, however, without demonstrating the premise, the statement is not substantively persuasive. The 11th fallacy that Aristotle lists down is the false cause fallacy, which is an informal fallacy with one form of this fallacy commonly described with the phrase, "correlation does not imply causation." This fallacy takes two events that correlate with each other and ascribes a causal link between them. In some cases, this can reverse the causal link. In other cases, there may be no causal link. Additionally, two patterns may be correlated because they both share the same cause while remaining unlinked to each other. This fallacy can be compelling in instances where two patterns are viewed as closely related by an audience. The 12th fallacy is affirming the consequent. A conditional statement in logic is frequently described as an if-then statement, meaning that if A is true, then it follows that B is true. The fallacy of affirming the consequent takes a conditional statement that may be true and reverses the statement. An example of this would be taking the statement, "The window is open, so the room is cold," and reversing the if-then component to say, "The room is cold, so the window is open." Although both statements may be true, it takes a cause that is applied in a specific instance and mistakenly reframes it as a general rule. This ignores the fact that there may be a wide range of possible causes that could lead to a specific event. The 13th and the last fallacy that Aristotle discusses here is the fallacy of many questions, which involves asking a question that requires an answer that would admit an unproven or unaccepted presupposition. These questions involve assumptions that support the argument of the questioner but are not accepted by the respondent. Although many questions require assumptions in order to be answered, in many cases these assumptions are widely accepted. This fallacy requires that the complex question includes assumptions about information which is disputed. In this instance, answering the question would involve the respondent conceding a point to the questioner.